Hello horror movie lovers, I'm Trenton and I love movies just like you, obviously. So I just watched The Conference because I am unemployed. My expectations were pretty neutral. I did randomly watch the trailer when it was first released, not knowing much about the movie, other than the fact that it was a Swedish slasher. After watching the trailer, I was pretty sold. I thought the movie looked interesting, but I wouldn't say I was necessarily excited nor not excited. But did the movie meet my expectations? It exceeded them exponentially. I absolutely love this movie so much.
So everyone's entitled to one good scare.
A team building conference for municipal employees turns into a nightmare when accusations of corruption begin to circulate and plague the work environment. At the same time, a mysterious figure begins murdering the participants. The first third of this video will be spoiler free, then the rest will contain spoilers. Don't worry, I will give you a warning before we enter spoiler territory. There's so many characters in this movie, majority being intentionally unlikable. When it comes to the unlikable characters, I don't have many thoughts on them other than the fact that I didn't like them, but their dynamics with one another made me enjoy their screen time. Normally, I'd go through all the main and main supporting characters and tell y'all what I thought about each one of them, but there's like literally 12 characters in this movie, 10 of which being main and main supporting characters. So I'm just gonna go through the characters that I liked and or the characters that left a lasting impression. Lena, our main character, was likable, but to be honest, I felt like her character was kind of bland, especially compared to the other characters and how animated and over the top they all were. She very much seemed like an outsider looking in. Nadja, I love her. She also felt like an outsider looking in. She's the newest member of this group, and a good chunk of the characters pick on her, mock, and dismiss what she had to say, which was annoying as but I thought she was so sweet. Amir, I loved him as well. Out of all the guys, he was definitely the sweetest, most kind and patient to Lena, the main character, and what she went through in the past. We love Amir, like, he was so sweet. Jonas was annoying as like, he felt like such a cartoonish antagonist. He was so over the top from start to finish, and I'd honestly say he was the most unlikable character within the entire group of characters, in my opinion. Now, the killer themselves was very intimidating, but wasn't necessarily unique compared to other killers within the slasher genre. I wouldn't go as far as to say they're an iconic slasher movie villain, but they very much got the job done, was intimidating, and had some very creepy scenes that honestly sent chills down my spine. The story is fairly simple. A bunch of employees go to a camp for this team building conference and do various team building exercises while a killer is on the loose picking them off one by one. I actually enjoyed this story, just simple and straight to the point, but the dynamics between the characters and how corrupt and unlikable majority of them were is what makes the story so fun in my opinion. The writing was surprisingly really good. I was genuinely shocked. The characters weren't making stupid decisions left and right. They were all making realistic decisions, some of which being questionable, but realistic and understandable for the most part, which can't be said for a lot of slasher movies. The cinematography was great. This movie was way more stylish than I was expecting. Very fun, very creative when it comes to shots, angles, camera movements, etc. It's also so ironic how majority of the characters are all like cartoonishly over the top and enthusiastic, while visually the movie looks so depressing, muted, and bleak. I don't know, I just found that to be pretty funny. The editing was also great. There's so many jump cuts and fun transitions throughout the movie. They're so over the top and wacky. It just gives the movie so much personality that I was not expecting based off the trailer alone. The effects are all practical and gnarly as I didn't notice any VFX on my first watch. The kills in this movie are so good, so fun. I wouldn't necessarily say creative or unique, but I found them all to be effective, and just the gore in general was all so effective. I was eating it all up. The tone is just perfect in my opinion. It very much is still a horror movie, but with a lot of dark comedic moments throughout. I wouldn't necessarily classify this as a straight up dark comedy, but it was pretty spooky and unsettling at times. Tonally, I just love this movie. I'm a sucker for slashers. I'm a sucker for dark comedies, best of both worlds for me. The pacing is honestly the only thing that I could see someone considering as a negative, even though the movie breezed by for me personally. The movie does take some time to fully get going, but the horror elements are from start to finish. The life lesson that I learned after watching The Conference was that you should be nice and understanding towards everyone, unless you want to die. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. To be honest, it's a contender for my favorite movie of the year. I don't know, we'll see how I feel about it at the very end of the year. I'm gonna have to give The Conference a 9 out of 10, leaning towards 10 out of 10 if I rewatch the movie and feel the same way. Whew. I'm hungry. We are now entering spoiler territory. We are now entering spoiler territory. If you haven't seen the conference, watch it, then come back to the video, or if you simply don't care about spoilers, keep on watching. In this portion of the video, I break down the movie, go more in depth with my likes and dislikes, as well as my favorite scene, favorite kill, and least favorite kill. Again, we are now entering spoiler territory. The movie starts off with the opening titles, which are intertwined with what seems to be a crime scene. There is blood everywhere. Towards the end of the opening titles, we're looking at a broken window. A woman runs by screaming, then we cut to the title card. This whole opening title sequence had me so nervous, like, what the happened here? But also had me excited and anticipating what was to come. We're then introduced to our characters. We are then introduced to our characters, who are all in a van headed to the campsite for their conference and team bonding exercises. They make a quick stop to admire a sign which reveals that they're all involved in the creation of a shopping center in Colorangan. Our group of characters get back on the road and make it to the campsite, where we're then introduced to the staff. Jenny and Royer, who are both concierge, Cleo, the leader of the team bonding exercises, and Carl, the chef.
Well, I hope you brought Pepto-Bismol.
At this point in the movie, I was kind of floored by how large the cast was. I just knew 100% that I was not going to remember any of their names. Everybody gets situated into their assigned rooms while Carl is preparing dinner for the guests. The gas tank in the kitchen is empty, which Carl has to go out and refill. On his way to refill the gas tank, a plank full of nails is thrown onto the road, causing him to get a flat tire. We then come back to our guests having their conference, where they discuss the commercial for the shopping center, which majority of the group doesn't like. I'm sorry, but that commercial had me dying, which I'm pretty sure was not the intention. The team behind that commercial needs to be fired, because that was actually horrendous. We then cut back to Carl and his whole situation with this flat tire. He wanders off into the woods, where he stumbles across wires strategically placed in between the trees until an unknown person hits him over the head with a blunt object. We then cut back to the conference being held, which reveals that everybody at this conference besides Lena were involved in the demolition of a man and his family's farm, presumably done against the man's will, causing the man to kill himself. The second act is pretty repetitive, I guess you could say. One of the staff members wanders off, finds a body, then proceeds to get killed, or wanders off and just gets killed, the main cast not knowing about anything that's going on. So I'm going to speed through the second act of this movie. Jenny, Royer, and Cleo are all killed without the main cast knowing. So our main cast is chilling, having a good time, until everybody starts splitting up and settling down for the night in their separate rooms, while Cash is conversating with Annette until the killer kills Cash with a propeller blade attached to a boat motor in the hot tub, and Annette gets away seemingly unnoticed by the killer. Angela is looking for Jenny but stumbles across the conference room, blood covering the walls and floor. I'm sorry, but what the actual was she thinking? The way I would have teleported, not ran, not sprinted, teleported out that instantly after I saw anything red on the floor. She's insane. Angela takes a good minute to realize, someone was murdered in here, and rushes out only to be stopped by the killer by them punching her in the face and hanging her from the flagpole. Everybody witnessing her murder and finally realizing that they're all in danger. I find it so funny that none of them even tried to save her. Like, they were literally just watching the killer hang her from the flagpole. Shit, I don't blame them. That's not my problem. Understandably, everybody runs for their life, splitting off into partners and or groups, all running into bodies of the people that died earlier that day without them noticing, as well as some of their phones that have been destroyed. We then follow our standard slasher movie formula, where the main cast start having one-on-one encounters with the killer, some of which getting killed in the process. Annette tends to Jonas's wounds after getting clotheslined with one of the killer's traps at the start of the third act, getting partially scalped. Jonas gets on a motorized bike, betraying Annette after she helped him, ultimately getting her killed by a sickle to the head. Jonas seems to get away until the killer throws another one of the wooden boards with nails in it onto the road, causing Jonas to crash and fall into a nearby river. This whole scene pissed me off so bad. Him abandoning her directly after she helped him had me fuming, and the fact that he still wasn't able to get away just... Ugh. Our remaining characters are trying to figure out a plan on how they're going to get out of their predicament, and suggest using the zip line that was part of one of their team bonding exercises earlier in the film. When they then come to the realization that the killer is the son of the farmer who himself due to them taking his land against his will. The remaining group of characters head to the zip line to escape until they're stopped by the killer, Nadja, getting caught in a bear trap placed by the killer. I was actually so pissed when none of them helped her when she got caught in the bear trap. I mean, yeah, the killer is still close, but like, come on, someone at least try to help her. You know what? Actually, if I was in their situation, I wouldn't help her, because that killer is scary as shit, but...
Get somebody else to do it.
Lena and Amir get past the killer and make it to the zipline while Eva and Torbjorn head back to the building they were just in for safety. Both Lena and Amir make it on the zipline and cross the lake until Amir notices that at the end of the zipline there's a bed of spikes. He spins around so Lena is safe, ultimately sacrificing himself, getting impaled by the spikes, cushioning Lena to where she has minimal injuries, resulting in him dying. The way this scene genuinely hurt me so bad is insane. Like, it hurt my feelings. One of the only people that was nice to her sacrificing themselves so she could live? I'm sorry, but that shit hurted. Back to Eva and Torbjorn in the building. They hear a knock on the door, assuming that it's Annette, until the killer chainsaws through the door, cutting Torbjorn's ear off. Torbjorn tells Eva to run while he fights off the killer. While Eva is running for her life, she decides to turn back and go to help Torbjorn. While Torbjorn's getting beat the up, Eva saves his life by attacking the killer with a scythe that was on display in the other room. The killer flees, ultimately giving Eva and Torbjorn time to recuperate. We then cut back to Lena breaking down after the death of her best friend and could have been potential husband. Until she hears a phone ringing and finds all the phones that were collected during the team bonding exercises that the killer stole when none of them were looking. She then calls the police. We then come back to Eva and Torbjorn preparing to find the killer and kill them once and for all with the golden shovel that was given to the member who contributed the most to the group towards the beginning of the movie, dumbass Jonas. They open the storage room door in the kitchen hoping that the killer would be in there, but to no avail. The killer, who was hiding behind the door after they opened it, attacks them, getting a hold of Eva, who is then able to kick both her and the killer out the window, giving her enough time to make some distance until the killer throws one of those barbecue fork thingies at her back, knocking her to the ground. The way this killer stays chucking objects at his victims is absurd. Like, come on now, that's cheating. The killer gets a hold of her again and is about to shove a power drill in her face until Torbjorn comes up behind him with a blowtorch and torches the killer's mask, obscuring his vision until he finds a pot full of water to distinguish himself. He then grabs one of those rooster thingies that are on a metal rod, I don't know what they're called, getting ready to swing at both Eva and Torbjorn, who are cowered together on the ground, until Nadja comes up behind the killer and decapitates him with the golden shovel, killing the killer once and for all. The cops are headed to the crime scene until Jonas comes out of nowhere and tackles Lena into the river, trying to kill her, which thankfully ends fairly quickly when she rips his scalp off, exposing his brain, his body floating in the river. The relief that I felt after Lena murdered Jonas, therapeutic. It's what he deserved. The cops and the paramedics arrive at the campsite, Lena, Nadja, Ava, and Torbjorn all surviving and getting medical treatment. One of the police officers pick up the mask containing the killer's head, and the movie ends with a shot of a newspaper with the headline saying, "We're not giving up without a fight." Such family-friendly, wholesome content that the whole family, including kids, would enjoy. Jonas's character was so damn annoying. There were multiple moments where he would just do the stupidest shit and it would just piss me off so bad. Specifically the part where him and Lena were on the raft, just escaping from the killer, and he was asking for that damn USB she stole from him. I literally said out loud, "Are you serious? There is no way." I knew the killer would have somehow been connected to the guy that killed himself in the barn because they took his land, so I guess that was somewhat predictable, but I honestly was not expecting 4 of the group members to survive. I was fully expecting Lena to be the final girl or everybody to die, but when Nadja cut the killer's head off with that golden shovel and the 4 of them survived, I was genuinely surprised. I love the jump cuts and all the transitions in the movie, especially the kill transitions. Before a character was about to die, I was trying to predict what it would transition to or cut to, and it made for a fun little guessing game. I loved the dark comedic elements. The scene where the killer set the fireworks off in the van so nobody could escape, while the woman who was hung from the flagpole was just hanging there and everybody, including the killer, was watching the fireworks in awe. I literally laughed out loud. I could see the pacing being a complaint someone would have because there were still kills in the first act, but the movie doesn't fully pick up until an hour in, when the characters finally realize that there's a killer at the camp. It's actually so hard for me to pick a favorite scene because I pretty much loved the movie from start to finish. I'm tempted to pick multiple favorite scenes, but that would defeat the whole purpose of this section of the video, so I think my favorite scene would have to be the chase scene before Lena fell into the pit of spikes after the whole raft Jonas situation. The killer out of focus in the background, the dolly tracking shot, and the score. I just loved the energy, and oddly enough, that tiny little moment gave me a boost of energy and hyped me up. I don't know what the was going on. I was like, But another scene I'd like to mention was the scene before Jenny got killed with the frying pan, when she sees the killer hiding in the storage closet in the kitchen, showing his shoes, then panning up to reveal the mask. When I tell you, that scene made me audibly gasp so hard, like literally sent chills down my spine. Not saying it was a contender for my favorite scene or anything, it just really caught me all the way off guard how creepy it got all of a sudden. My least favorite scene would have to be when Jonas kicked Lena off the raft after she gave him the USB with all the important emails and documents on it. Like, y'all just escaped from the killer, but you're seriously still worried about that damn USB? Now is not the time, Jonas. Gosh. When it comes to the kills as well, it's hard to pick just one because they were all pretty effective for the most part, but my favorite kill would have to be Amir getting impaled by the spikes that the killer set up at the end of the zip line. That shit was so damn sadistic, and I felt so bad for both him and Lena. Like, they were so damn close to escaping together. Ugh, that shit hurted way more than it should have. My least favorite kill would have to be Jenny getting her head bashed in with the frying pan. The bludgeoning was obviously brutal, but the weapon of choice wasn't as cool as the other ones. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos from me, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Alright, horror movie lovers, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.